And you were awake during the brain surgery, right?
Could you feel anything happening behind your head?
Opening up, yeah, you feel it opening up. It's like being in a Saw movie because they put like a numbing cream on the, so you like the feeling of the your skin being serrated and opened up, and the bone itself on the skull. You don't feel that particular thing, but you feel like the area that it doesn't directly affect, and it's really fucking awful.
What was the motivating factor behind starting the channel and documenting the journey? Or was it literally that? Was it having a diary?
No. I had started up my own channel during COVID, where it was just playing video games while listening to a particular album that was they were both randomized, and then also making and drinking a cocktail that was also randomized.
Okay.
And the idea was that like kind of two weird things at the same time, and like sometimes it worked out terrible because like we did one that was the worst one we did was like we were playing GTA, and of course like GTA, big part of the game itself is to put on the radio and listen to other music. It was like, this is awful, like fucking they're two things that are clashing.
Yeah.
And then one of the best things we did though, we were playing Doom, and the album was Frank Sinatra. And we were drinking old fashions, and so it was just like such a counter of like the two things. It's like you hear fly me to and it was just like so it's like when you see it, there's about 1,000 documentaries that do this where they play Louis Armstrong, What a Beautiful World.
Yeah.
And they always have it to like war and torment and fucking like, you know, footage of the Holocaust and all.
Yeah.
It sounds like a montage sequence, doesn't it? With that.
Yeah, it's the juxtaposition, isn't it? Of having a song that doesn't really fit. So you started documenting your brain surgery and
oh no, sorry, I didn't finish that. But so we just I had set that thing up, and it was just to do something productive with playing video games, because it was kind of like you're playing them, but like you're not doing anything, and I kind of felt bad afterwards, like I spent too much fucking time there. Whereas this was like you're doing something and you're like being creative with it, and you upload the videos, and now it's actually sort of like a positive way to use your time. But it wasn't like, thinking this is going to be big. My goal was simply to like earn a tiny amount of money. It's like, yes, it's technically financially like
my job,
positive in some way. Yeah. It's just like side money that like I'd buy a couple of extra pints down in the pub, like. But then when I was doing it, and I sort of that's when I got my prognosis or diagnosis. I can't remember which comes first. The chicken or the egg. And when that happened, I was like, I'm gonna lose a bit of hair, and I might not be able to speak for a while, so I'm gonna have to address that in the online presence anyway. So it's like I'll probably do like a little bit of charity stuff, because I don't want my whole channel to be based on like, I play video games, but I also have brain cancer, like and subscribe please, hearts. And so I was like, I don't want to do that sort of stuff, but I still have to address the elephant in the room, because they're literally going to be looking at the scar, because the camera that I had set up was on the left hand side of me. And also if I'm like not able to speak properly, be like, I have a loss of sort of the ability to articulate words properly, so give me a pass if I'm not saying words properly. But then when I got the diagnosis or the prognosis, prognosis is the second part. That's where they're kind of the more certain of like the situation that I was in. And it's like, yeah, it's exactly as we thought it would be. It's stage 3 cancer. These are the treatments. I was like, fuck. And then at that point I was kind of like, you know what, fuck it, fuck mentioning the brain tumor thing, fuck mentioning just like, we're doing a little bit for charity. How about I just go hard on the charity stuff? Because the way brain cancer ends a person's life most of the time, obviously there's exceptions to everybody, is you're fine, and then it gets into your nervous system and you're dead. So it just cuts off everything. It's actually quite quick death, which for me, I used to work in several nursing homes when I was studying as a nurse, and it's not a pleasant way to go when you're like bed bound and sort of something that's like, slowly degenerating away and just getting awful. So it's like, fuck that. I don't want that. Like, not like I had a choice with the brain terminal thing, but like it was sort of like, I'd much prefer to go out like this. And not a lot of people know that as well. People hear cancer and they don't think of the different sort of umbrellas that they fall under. And so I was like, I can kind of take advantage of this with the idea that people won't like know straight away that I'm still going to be able to physically do certain things. So if you hear like cancer patient runs a marathon, that's like huh? Like people will sort of like their ears are going to prick up and people like, you know, will start looking at that. So I was kind of basing what I was, that my story would be a lot like a film where you have the antagonist going through all these sort of things and how can he go to the second arc and overcome his issues, and then third arc being the achievement of, you know, something great. And so I was like, right, this is in terms of the basis, it's a basis for a good story. And so I kind of knew that I could take advantage of that. So
You're doing some fucking incredible things and raising like a hell of a lot of money, and we're going to get into your story now and go through it. You're quite open. We're talking about the situation and stuff like that. Now, the elephant in the room, and I don't think you're really familiar with me and my story, but just to get it out there, because this is about you and not about me. But I actually have really bad health anxiety, like really bad health anxiety. I went on like Steve Bartlett, you know, Diary of a CEO, and I spoke about it on there. And I was just wondering, so my greatest worry, my biggest fear is actually like, is your reality, basically. How do you feel about people with health anxiety? How does that make you feel when you hear that?
I don't think that it's something that you can negatively throw on someone where it's like, you know, oh, you don't have the real thing, you're a prick. Like I would think the exact opposite, where it's like, fuck, I'm so glad that I don't have like sort of a fear of something, because it's a mental health issue. That's not like, to say that it's not, you're ignorant of like what's going on in the world and what there's growing research about.
Yeah.
So if you have like what's it called when you're like sort of obsessed with yourself, it's a hypochondriac.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah.
I should know, my dad's a bit of a hypochondriac. He's not anymore, but like because he has like a heart condition, but like even before he had a heart condition, he would never like, you know, pipe down about his health stuff. And but he's an incredibly like, you know, fit man. He's still out playing tennis and golf all the time. He's over 70. He doesn't really drink much. He eats a bit too much sugar. That's about it. That's
right.
Only vice.
Right.
But I know, like, I don't know a huge amount of people, but like, you know, there's a lot of people that have mental health problems, and like it's that sort of thing of like. Like I had an ex-girlfriend who she suffered from depression, and then but like on paper, and she was very aware of it because she was very good at taking care of her own mental health, but it's like, you know, I don't have the rights to be like the rights, as if it's like a justification is required for you to have mental health problems, or it's like I'm doing really well at my career, which is like something that I'm focused on as a creative thing, and like it's rare that people are good at this sort of thing. This is doing well, I have this, I have that, like things are going well for me in my life, why the fuck am I depressed? And it's like, you don't get the choice. So no, I don't think it's like, you know, cry baby, like I don't believe in that sort of stuff.
Did you ever have, or do you have health anxiety? Did you have it before your diagnosis? Was that something that you ever worried about, or?
No. I've had so there was a swelling in one of the scans, but apparently that turned out to simply just be because we had finished up with radiotherapy, which is where they blast radiation laser beams into your fucking skull, and so that was a scare where it's like, fuck, like the tumor's growing, and so that was scary, but they later came back and was like, you know, no, it seems like this was just like a swelling of the brain rather than a growing of the tumor. Right. And so that just fucked off.
Okay. So how did you first discover that something was wrong then? Did you have symptoms and stuff?
Zero. Part of the reason why I'm like, I have this sunny disposition is because it's difficult to be sad about something if there's nothing there to be sad about, even if like, it's like the same thing you say to kids growing up, where it's like, you know, you're going to die someday. It's like, no one believes it. Like even now, if you say to somebody like, you know, you're going to die like within 50 years, it's like, it's almost impossible to really get your head around that, pun not intended. But it's like, it's part of the reason why, like, you know, organized religion exists, is because it's difficult for people to sort of fathom the idea that, like, you know, what we are doing comes to an end, and then it's like, well, what happens afterwards? It's like, well, no one really knows, but some people really pretend to act like they do know. Like, you know, many wars happen over that reason. But so like I didn't have symptoms beforehand, and I used to do medical trials just because I despise doing any kind of work that I don't like doing. Right. And so working in a gym was that's where I sort of got my studies from, and then I was teaching fitness classes. But something that I really didn't like was actually working in gyms themselves, because the hours are often awful. They're always the not fun hours, early on the weekend, late on the midweek. So if most of someone's friend circle probably work 9 to 5, which is overlooked as a fucking amazing time schedule to work by, because most of the planet isn't working is working at the same time. So when you're free, your mates are free, or classes are on. So if you want to take up a hobby, they do it. They don't do it midday. They don't do it like, jiu-jitsu at 4 o'clock. Like, they don't do that. So like, that's it. It's more favorable for people who want to get involved in society, and most people do.
Yeah.
And so I didn't like that. So I was doing like fitness classes, but then as the way to kind of, that doesn't pay all the bills. It covered a lot, but so I found ways to make other money, and that was one of the ones that I was geared towards, was just doing medical trials, because they throw the cash at you.
What does that entail?
Yeah, what's in a medical trial? How many have you done? What did you do?
I did loads. Like, I did loads of sort of different ones. One was for like a new paracetamol that they were trying out. So they gave us dead bacteria, which in no possible way could it actually have any ill effect on us, but because the way your immune system works, it would detect that there's bacteria, and it would set off your defense mechanism. So like, we did we all had to go through the same thing with the dead bacteria thing. So everybody was like thump with like the high fevers and like, headaches and all that. But that is your body's natural way to defend itself. It's not the bacteria having this effect. And then calm down really soon afterwards, because our immune systems then were like, okay, false alarm. But like, we only in the sort of clinic for 1 day and then 1 night sleeping in the thing, and I think it was like, here's like $2,000 afterwards.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so zero chance that you could, like, some of them there are chances that you can get something from it.
Yeah.
Incredibly rare. Like in the UK, I think there's been like a case of 1 person dying on medical trials. We've grown up and we watch The Simpsons and like shit like that, so you think medical trials based off
you're
like
gonna grow like another arm or something.
yeah. And they're not. Yeah. Like, they do them on animals first, then they do them on like, tiny doses with humans, and then eventually they get it in before they finally get to, it's like, okay, let's try this out medically to people that like, let's see, does this help like resist addictions to cigarettes or something like that.
Right.
And that's like, the steps take fucking ages, hence why so many people will go on about how like, but we've thrown billions towards cancer research, and like, why haven't we come up with a cure? And it's like, well, one of the many fucking reasons is because medical trials they don't just kind of throw them willy-nilly out of nowhere. They're incredibly careful, because if they're using humans, they don't want to fucking kill them.
Yeah, right.
So I've done a fair few, and one of them was on like a HIV vaccine, which actually has benefited me now, because it means that I now have a resistance to HIV.
Oh.
Which wouldn't be too much of an issue these days anyway, because the treatment is so effective these days that the life expectancy of someone who has HIV virus extends past the average life expectancy.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's because they're in hospital more.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so they're constantly getting looked after.
They're just constantly being seen. So if another health issue comes up, it's seen sooner.
So how regularly were you doing these medical trials?
Maybe twice a year.
Twice a year.
And how many would you say you'd done?
Maybe 6.
6, right.
I'd say about 6.
And then 2019 comes, and what did they say? You can't do this next trial? Did they say why?
No. So the closest that you're not allowed to do another medical trial until 3 months has passed, because they have to make sure that whatever they've put in is like left your system, and that one wouldn't affect another. And also it could be like dangerous to sort of mix 2 sort of chemicals together.
Yeah.
But I never had done one that was 3 months after the previous one, just because they don't have that many medical trials going, and they don't have that many medical trials that I would be the fit for what they want, because they might want someone who's over 70 and smokes. They might want someone who's like, young, but it varies who they want. So it's like, here we want someone who's 20 and is fit and healthy. That's what we're looking for. It's not always like that. But I went to one where they they were actually doing scans on the brain for what's called a CT scan, which is they kind of put like an ugly looking scrum cap on you and these little sort of wires. Nothing penetrates the skin, but they just sort of detect the wavelengths that are going out. And that was 3 months before I was due to come into this other trial that was related to, I think it was a schizophrenia medicine. And they did an MRI on that. And so they detected the tumor because they were doing a test for me to do this trial. And they detected it there. But that means that they didn't detect it when they were given a CT scan on my head. And so the chances, the chances of me having this thing detected, this tumor detected without any symptoms are fucking 1 in a billion.
Wow.
Yeah. So, like, that's why I keep saying that I'm, like, one of the luckiest unlucky men on the earth.
So, if they didn't detect it how they did, would you just be at this point in your life now without knowing that anything was wrong?
Oh, I doubt that because, like, I went in and so they said the tumor that we've detected is benign, but you need to get it scanned a second time because we didn't, like, scan for tumors. We did a general scan and detected something. And then the second time I got the scan, they were like, oh no, they were wrong. This is not a benign tumor. This is growing. So we need to, here are the options. Take them if you want. You don't have to. It's not wise to not take them statistically.
Yeah.
And then so I went in and did the craniotomy and the radiotherapy and the chemotherapy. And I'm sorry, I've kind of gone on a bit of a tangent. What was the question you just asked?
I was just saying if it wasn't detected then would you know now?
No, what would have happened would be it wouldn't have been detected. I then would have gotten symptoms. Knowing myself, I probably wouldn't have gone in to the doctor for quite a while. And so by the time you're getting symptoms, whatever stage it was caught at, like stage 3, like that's not the best. It would definitely be worse. I probably would be dead at this stage. If not, then like I would, if I'm having symptoms, that means it's gotten way worse. It's gotten sort of into my actual operating system within the brain. So that unquestionably saved my life.
And you were awake during the brain surgery, right?
Yeah, it's the better option. You can do it where you're under anesthesia, but like it's the difference of you can work with the doctor to guide in, much to what I was explaining with the appliances. They have these prods that they go in and they're not like damaging your brain tissue, but they prod into a certain area and it's like, can you do a certain thing now? And my one, because it was left temporal lobe with a right-handed person, I was basically playing a really boring game of Articulate. You ever play that over Christmas? Yeah, so it's just like which one is a dog, which one is a cat. And they would simply look out for me pausing. So if it was like a cat versus a cat, right, I'd be like, okay, that's working tissue. We'll avoid that. Oh. And so they literally found like, okay, here's empty tissue that's not being used and it's tumor tissue. So like, let's remove that then. It's not a thing. So they just try and remove as much non-functioning brain tissue that is also tumor tissue.
What, did that feel like anything for you? Like when you were going, could you...
No.
So, but could you feel anything happening behind your head or on the side of your head?
Opening up, yeah, you feel it opening up. It's like being in a Saw movie.
What the fuck?
Is it loud as well?
It's
right near your ear.
Extremely loud. It's like, did you ever see RoboCop 2?
Yeah.
I saw that when I was a kid and I fucking remember the brain thing so much. And I remember, like, it was the exact fucking same noise. The fucking... I was like, oh, man.
Fucking hell.
What's that feeling like?
Do you ever see, part of the reason why I'm decent at my social media stuff is because I really like films. I never realized how much I was into films until like I started like talking to other people. And it's like, oh, me and my friends just went to the cinema so much, and I just thought that was normal sort of behavior. And it was like, apparently it's not. Like, we went to the cinema more than the average person.
I've probably been to the cinema 15 times in my life.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be like our usual thing that we would do as teenagers.
Yeah.
But in Casino, there's a scene where Joe Pesci is literally squishing some guy's head with a vice. And it's like, that's kind of what it feels like. Just this really high amount of pressure because they put like a numbing cream on the, so you know, like the feeling of the your skin being serrated and opened up, and the bone itself on the skull, you don't feel that particular thing, but you feel like the area that it doesn't directly affect, and it's really fucking awful. So like, because it's more the feeling. The pain itself is, it's not as painful, but like you still are aware of like that. Oh man, I really want to get the fuck away from that. Like,
yeah.
How are you staying still? Because you're awake, so you're not strapped down or anything, are you?
No, I was put into this, like, that's actually what ended the surgery. It wasn't me, like, they kind of felt like they had enough of the thing, but it was like, it was because my hips were cramping up because I was in the fetal position to the side. And now I actually sleep naturally like that, but when you're unable to move at all, things start cramping up really fucking fast. And it was like, I couldn't move because like they're literally fucking around with my head like in this position. So like you're really stuck, unable to move in a somewhat comfortable position, as comfortable as they can get you. But eventually it was just like, okay, he's starting to cramp up. We've given him whatever form of morphine they did, but like we're at the point now where in order to keep him from being in a lot of pain, the morphine is now affecting his ability to speak, and it's like we can't accurately do what we're trying to do with the craniotomy in the first place.
Right.
But my brain surgery was like, I think we've gotten like most of what we can anyway at this point. It's at the point of diminishing returns, and for me it was like, no, keep going, man. Like I don't want to have a fucking another one of these, because that was one of the things where it's like, we'll test you afterwards. And like, we might need to go in for a second surgery. So I was like, fuck that. Like, I don't want to have to go through all the like the inserting of like, needles into my hand and fucking having my skull open up again. Do it now. Fuck that. Yeah. But he was like, no. I think we've got the best we can out of it.
Really puts things into perspective, because in March I had to have an operation on my finger. And I fucking hated that. So I couldn't imagine going through the skull. Bit of a difference, isn't it? Bit of a difference.
What were they actually? So you said they were taking out parts of the brain that wouldn't affect you. Is that tumour? They're taking out tumour tissue.
Yeah.
But is that just to try and make it as small as possible, or are they testing it as well? Or
they make it as small as possible, but then also do further tests on the tumor to find out more details, because like they do their original scan and it's like, okay, there's something there, but it's the difference of like looking at the moon versus coming back with samples from the moon, if it exists, if they actually did that thing. Big conspiracy.
So what did they say your life expectancy was after this operation?
They said that it was anywhere from 1 to like 6 years, and then we were like, what's the average life expectancy? And one of the things they focused on was like, this is not Hollywood. In Hollywood, they say like, you got 1 year to live. Off you go, Walter White, and make some meth. They don't do that. They go for like, this is an average, like much like we were talking about the average sleep thing. It's not 8 hours. Some people are fine with 6. Some people need 9. The life expectancy is much the same, where it's like a lot of people die within a couple of months. A lot of people live 20 years. So the average is 5. And so I because I was already had the idea before the meeting, I already had the idea that I'm going to do this for charity. And so when I was in that meeting, I was like, I need you as my doctor to tell me a number so that I can legitimately use on social media and not have someone like, hey, we got your doctor notes. That's bullshit. Right. It's like once someone says like, you're talking out your arse, that's my attempt over with. So I was like, I need to be as transparent as possible with this.
Yeah.
Because I'm literally asking people to trust me that follow my account. I won't take the sponsorship money. I'll get the sponsorship money to go directly to cancer research. And that requires trust. So
yeah.
The only way you're able to get trust with a stranger over social media is with transparency. So
right.
I was like, I need to make sure that everything is honest what I say.
So what number did the doctor give then? Or because
the average is 5 years. Yeah.
5 years. And how far are we into that now?
I have, I think, 8 months, and then I've beaten those stats. But another thing that they quickly said afterwards is like, you are unique. People who are in their 30s do not come in symptomless and have brain surgery. It doesn't happen. So that 5-year thing is based off of people who are in their 60s, because those are the people who come in and like, I'm of retirement age. I finished up. I better do a big health scan, because that's just kind of like what a thing that people do. And that's where they see like, oh, you're symptomless, but we've actually detected that you've got a brain tumor.
So with your age and also you're obviously incredibly physically fit, is that really important? Is that important for you? Does that give you more chance to survive longer as well?
They don't know. It's like, one would think that youth and fitness has a massive benefit, seeing as how it has a huge benefit towards other health. But they were saying that like that's a thought, not something that has been tested, because there's not enough people to get like enough data from, because very few people are in your situation.
Yeah.
My surgeon said that he's only encountered one other patient that was of a young person, and they went in without symptoms. It doesn't happen.